Welcome to Passive Aggressive Income. This program may contain strong language. The content may not be suitable for audiences under the age of 17. We understand many of our listeners may not agree with all of our personal viewpoints. We in no way, shape, or form mean to be offensive to anyone. Our show notes will provide all of our source material included for each episode. Now let's get passive aggressive. Welcome back to another episode of Passive Aggressive Income. This episode is going to be a lot of fun because I have my literal childhood friend, Soua Vang. I have known Soua since elementary school, and let me tell you, he's a real G when it comes to videography and photography. I have seen his work from when he started in high school up until now, and I'm just blown away by how much he has grown as an artist. Plus, he was my videographer for my wedding, and it turned out better than I could have ever imagined it. It was so beautiful. So, welcome, Shua, aka Chewy, to the Passive Aggressive Income Podcast. Yay.
Hey, welcome, Shua.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I'm gonna just shoot off the first question here. What got you started in photography and videography?
Um, so I guess just starting off from like the beginning, a lot of it started off when my dad bought our first like family camcorder. So it was just kind of like picked it up, kind of fell in love with looking at myself through videos and stuff. Uh, Carried on into middle school, also obviously into high school, and then getting into college. I think college was like a weird time because I kind of had the whole like mindset of, I need to stop making videos because I need to focus on school. But I
Hmm.
had the like itch to keep making videos. And it wasn't until probably my junior year that I just really decided to like hone in on it and do it. Um, I kept seeing a lot of creators on like Instagram and stuff like doing all these things that I wanted to do. And so one day I just sat down, put my phone camera up, and just started talking to the camera and did it the next day and made a vlog out of it. And I share the vlog like every year because that was like the pinnacle of like me really diving deep into this.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's pretty much the story. Kind of just snowballed from there, and here I am.
How
Yeah.
hard was it for you to like start talking into the camera, just by yourself?
By myself, it's definitely a lot easier. I think it gets a little weird when like other people are around. Like I did vlogging and in public and stuff, and that definitely was like a weird kind of thing to get over.
Yeah.
The vlogging didn't last long. I kind of transitioned like other types of videos, but it definitely helped me get the confidence to be able to like put myself on camera and talk about things because I do it now.
Hmm.
I like giving out tips and my experiences to like people. So uh, yeah, it's like another skill that you basically have to hone.
For
That's so
sure.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know Mims mentioned that you did her wedding video, and you've talked a little bit about your start with vlogging. What would you say your like favorite subject matter is, and what is your like artistic style when it comes to both videography and photography?
It kind of changed throughout the years. When I first started professionally, it was kind of just to get my hands on anything I could do. Uh, the wedding industry is definitely one where a lot of people get their start off on
Yes.
because there's
Hmm.
like a demand for it, and it's an opportunity to like film or to take photographs of, and realistically like get paid for. Uh,
Hmm.
I think kind of going from there, it went into like doing like restaurant food stuff,
Oh, cool.
Hmm.
and then into like now what I'm doing, which is more brand commercial, lifestyle travel stuff.
Awesome.
I wouldn't say that there's not much of like a specific style that I have. It's a lot more of like creating things I like to create, and people kind of just gravitate to it. So
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the best place to be when you're doing something that you're passionate about because so I also have done photography and videography for the past couple years and I also started in the wedding industry. And since then I sort of moved into like the branding and corporate type of stuff where I was working with small businesses and it's really hard when you're working with another brand to sort of like have your own creative style with it when you're really just sort of like focusing on what the brand wants, like what the business is and how that represents how you represent them. And so to be able to hear that you've been able to sort of find your own way to stick with your creativity and like your own style and do what you want to do, and people come to you for that style is really cool.
Yeah, I think it's like a hard kind of middle ground when it comes to trying to find work with like brands because
Mhm.
they like your stuff and so they want to hire you for that stuff. And then there's some times where, they want their own kind of thing into it and it kind of questions like, so like why'd you hire me then?
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like trying to find like the balance of like, all right, who's good to work with and who's like not good to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having enough creative control.
Yeah, because if there's too many hands in the pot, it makes everything way too complicated.
Right.
I think it would be a dream working with you, Shua, especially for somebody like myself, because I need all the direction when it comes to like being photographed or being in like a video. So, yeah, I would definitely like book you for anything.
Appreciate that.
Would you say that you had any mentors or people that you admire when it comes to these passions of yours?
Um, so in the lines of like mentors, there's like two ways I look at it. There's one where it's kind of like one, some people don't need it and some people do need it. When I first started, I realistically like was kind of just threw myself into it and had no idea what I was doing. Um, and so I got connected with this one dude from Florida, and he wanted to be my mentor. And realistically, like I paid for him. And
Mm,
for me, it wasn't a fit because a lot of the stuff that he was like telling me to do, I kind of already knew and was kind of already doing it. So I was kind of questioning like, why am I already doing the stuff that like I'm like why am I taking advice from someone that is telling me stuff that I already know?
Mhm.
right.
Um, but on the other side of things, I think some people do need a mentor because when they don't know what they're doing, uh, they kind of need a little bit of that guidance. And like I mentor some people that like really, really need it. And so it's kind of like not everyone needs it, but some people need it.
Hmm.
I think a lot of my mentorship kind of came from people that I looked up to through social media and like YouTube.
Yeah.
Like one big proponent that I always say is you learn on YouTube University. That's
Oh
my
yeah. I've said
yeah.
that exact phrase in this podcast.
So many times.
Yeah, I mean, I learned a lot of my video stuff from there. A lot of the people on YouTube give like the best advice, and like I learned a lot from like business to like filming videos to like transitions and
Hmm.
just the whole scope of things. I would say it's been like them as my mentors, and then also people through like social media because they're the ones that I guess in a way inspire my style and what I do. Like I
Right.
started skydiving just because they started doing it, and I love it. So
Wow. Yeah, so
Wow.
that brings me into a question that I wanted to ask was how does social media play a role in your success? I know that like with YouTube and, getting inspiration from other people like on Instagram is a really good way to start, but do you tend to still look to those places for inspiration? Or I know for me, once I got sort of like into finding my style, I tried not to look at too many other people's content for fear that it would like influence me too much.
um, I mean, I definitely feel like when I was in the weeds of like really finding out what I wanted to do, um, I tried to, imitate, in a way where it's kind of like you see someone do something, you kind of want to like try it out yourself. like a
Hmm.
whole
Mhm.
thing that was like really big, I think about three years ago was like B-roll sequences. And
Yes.
there's this like YouTuber Daniel Schiffer. He like spiked up the whole popularity of like B-roll stuff. And for me, that was like an easy way to practice my skills and
Hmm.
make it a little bit different on my certain style. And I think from just those kinds of things, um, it really helped me kind of figure out my style and like all that stuff. Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, so now that you're more like in your career and you've sort of found a style, do you still look towards like those YouTubers or people on Instagram for inspiration? Or like how has social media like continued to play a role in your success?
Yeah, I think still today I look on Instagram sometimes, mainly through people that I personally like their content and see like
Mhm.
how they're doing it. And I kind of implement some things into my own work, especially a lot of my personal creative stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but I try not to imitate, I guess, because I mean, at the end of the day, I still kind of create like what I like to create.
Mhm.
I think it changes a little bit when it's commercial style work or like paid brand stuff because I need a little bit of inspiration of kind of like, okay, how has people shot this before? So like I did a hotel video I think last year, and um I did two of them actually. The first one we kind of just shot it just to see what we could do, and then the second time me and my team really wanted to be able to really hone down like, okay, this is something that we really need to structure out a lot better. And so we looked on YouTube, looked at a lot of different hotel style videos and kind of like nitpicked like, okay, like something like this would be cool, something like this would be cool. It was a lot more certain shots and concepts within those that we kind of took inspiration from, and we like reworked it into our own thing.
Cool.
Okay. So, how do you set yourself apart from others in the same field as you? I know that there's a ton of photographers and videographers, and like you said, you kind of look to other people for maybe more inspiration rather than imitation. So, how do you set yourself apart from everybody else?
I think, I mean, I thought about this too. And
Mm-hmm.
I like a one thing I really think about is I don't really try to set myself apart too much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I kind of just again create things that I like, and people tend to gravitate to the things I make.
Mm-hmm.
I think being authentic is a way that people get invested into you that makes you like stand out.
Yeah.
Um, I'm like blanking out here, but
No, that's okay. I think that's perfect. I think that's really what it comes down to. Because, I mean, Lexi and I have this passive income entrepreneurship podcast. I have another true crime podcast, and it's been done 100 times. We didn't reinvent the wheel, you know? So, what we do is just take it in our own way and we make it about our special interests. And, like, for my other podcast, I do specific cases that I know that I'm interested in and not just like the big cases that I've heard, like Ted Bundy and all that stuff. So it's
Mhm.
like I'm not just copying everything that's already out there. We're just doing it that what fits us and our interests and like our specialties that we are, like you said, like interested in. So I totally get that. That totally makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's like based on your own human experience.
Hmm.
yeah, I think like one example in a way was when I moved to Minnesota. There's a big fashion community here, and there's a lot of like photographers into it,
Hmm.
but I haven't seen a lot of like videographers kind of get into it. So
Oh,
like kind of when I jumped into like the scene, um, I guess I stood out in a way that I was like making these like really intricate kind of portrait style fashion videos, and like people really liked it, and I was getting hit up a lot to like do a lot of these things. So I guess
yeah.
it was kind of like unintentional setting myself apart.
Right. Cool. So, what is it important for people to know that are starting out as far as equipment, editing, or anything? I know you said when you started and really like decided to do this, you just grabbed out your cell phone. Is that all you need, or what does it take to get started in this field?
I've answered this question quite a few times, and I'm like a really big proponent on my answer is to just start. You don't start if you don't start.
Hmm.
Uh, like again, I started with my phone. Realistically, my whole first like maybe year to 2 years before I went into it professionally was like all on my phone, an iPhone 5, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
And my first, I guess, paid gig was off of my iPhone
Wow.
and a drone that my dad bought me.
Nice.
And it's like just crazy to think about that, like, something like this small can really get you started. And there's so many like free apps that you can download. Like there's DaVinci Resolve for free. There's CapCut, InShot. There's a whole bunch of free things accessible to people. Um, Also, I think that if you're starting off with your phone, there's like different accessories that you can get for your phone, like lenses and stuff. A company called Moment does that stuff like perfectly. Um, there's also like filmmaking apps. I think you know Filmic Pro is one of them that really helps people learn the intricacies of how a camera works with just your iPhone.
Hmm.
Down the line, obviously, you'll continue to upgrade and reinvest into your craft and stuff. Um, but if I were to really nail down like what someone really needs, just use whatever kind of camera you have, whatever, if it's a phone or like a really cheap Sony Cybershot or something. And another thing is lighting. Like I'll just buy some like at least like half decent lights because that would be like the really important thing that you'll need on some stuff. But yeah, that's my advice on starting out.
Yeah, it's a good answer.
Yeah, I like that you can just do it because not a lot of people can afford all of the intricate equipment that I see people like schlepping around with them all the time. And it is possible to just do it from an iPhone, which, iPhones have been made for making videos and taking really awesome pictures. And I even think that there's like a Google phone that is really good at taking pictures too. So it's definitely possible to just do it off of a phone. So I like that the direction that photography and videography is going into because I think it's a lot more attainable to do for people that don't have a lot of money to invest right away.
Definitely.
So what is your favorite photo shoot or videography session you've done so far?
So far, there's two of them.
Okay.
One of them is the one I shot last year of the hotel. Me and my crew. Uh, it was like the whole process of actually like getting the contract signed and all that stuff. Like I love the business side of this. Like
Yeah.
it's like winning the lottery when you get that signed contract. It's the best feeling. Uh,
Yeah.
but aside from that, the whole process of actually going to the hotel, having a shot list, going through all these like different things that they wanted to capture. So like the rooms, experiences, the restaurant, the venue space, uh, just filming the whole thing was very fulfilling because it was something I've always wanted to do. More recently, me and a couple videographer friends rented out a studio and we shot spec ads, which is speculative ads, which are basically mock-up ads. And we shot one for Apple for their AirPod Maxes.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was like really surreal because we were in this huge studio with a big white wall, and we got a whole bunch of people to be part of our crew, and it was pretty insane because we had like professional lighting setups that we all brought. We all were like directors, and so we kind of like directed all these like little spec ad stuff that we're doing, and personally, it was probably one of my favorite and um, best pieces of work that I've made. it's very fulfilling to be a part of like a professional set.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's incredible. And that makes me wonder because I know that you said that like the business side of things is something that you're really excited about. And that's definitely a part of like photography and videography that maybe people, when they're getting started and want to go that route, don't really think about. Like they think about their craft, but there's a whole business side of things that really takes precedence a lot of times to be able to get projects in. So, what advice do you have for finding clients and being able to land things like big hotels or Apple projects?
Um, I think the thing about that is you have to be able to be personable, but also be able to not be afraid to reach out. A lot of
Mm.
people kind of have the pre-notion of like, oh, they're not going to get back to me. It's, they're a big company or they're not going to say yes or whatever, but there's never like the worst they can say is no.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people get afraid of that answer no because everyone's afraid of rejection,
Right.
Yeah.
but you have to kind of get past that. And one thing I always say is, you'll always get more no's than you will get a yes. And so really honing down on trying to just stick at it, keep reaching out to people, do all these things. And you really have to set yourself apart too, to be that professional presence. You never want to go to a business and be like, I'm an amateur. I mean, you wouldn't say that
Yeah.
outright, but you know, they can really sense if like you're not really confident in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
The best way to do it is to be prepared. So, have a good email, be professional, make pitch decks. That's really important to have pitch decks and also be able to nail down how they can benefit from it. Because realistically, they
Ooh.
want to invest into what will give them an ROI.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I
So
love that. I think everything you said I can relate to as far as our real estate company because I have had to do mailers and in that I know that I'm gonna get a lot of no responses and probably a lot of you can stop sending me these.
yeah,
Um, and but the thing is, for a few times actually, I've gotten very close to sealing down a deal that was really something that I never thought I could be able to do. It didn't pan out, but I was very close, and it was kind of like it was a yes on their end, and then eventually got to a no on my end. But if I didn't do all of that, if I didn't put myself out there, I wouldn't have gone to meet these people and know that these properties are out there. So I really think that what you said is such a great piece of advice.
yeah, you definitely have to put yourself out there to get the results you want.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's like you can get a million no's, but if you get that one yes, then that kind
Ooh,
of like makes everything worth it.
Yup,
absolutely.
exactly.
All right, one last question for you. What advice do you have for the people that tell themselves that their photography or videography is only good enough to be a hobby and not like an actual stream of income?
It's all about mindset. I think if you believe it's just a hobby, it'll only be a hobby. Um,
Mm.
some people want it to be just a hobby, but if you want to make even just like a small amount of income into it, you definitely can. Like humble brag, okay? Humble brag. My first year, I did things for free. I did a
Mhm.
whole bunch of free projects, and I started off with like, getting $200 was like big, big, big mind blowing thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then within my first year, I made about I think 10 grand, and
Wow.
I
Hell
think
yeah.
I think that in itself was a very big reassurance to me that saying, yo, you can do this.
Yeah.
I told myself like there was no plan B, but just getting that
Hmm.
amount of money, like looking at my QuickBooks, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Um, but if you want to stick it as a hobby, that's fine. But there's a whole bunch of different ways you can make money off of it. You don't have to have these big productions and like big brand commercial stuff. You can sell like stock videos. You literally
Mhm.
just put up a camera, shoot something in like 4K, put it online onto like a stock service, and passively make income. Like
Right.
passively make income just randomly, just on my phone, just get an email. Oh, you made $30. Cool.
Oh,
Nice.
that's awesome.
And then there's also like digital products that you can make. I sell email templates to get your first clients, or how to pitch to a brand, how to DM brands on Instagram or whatever. There's also like presets, the photo filters that if there's a certain person that you like their style, you can buy um, their filters basically,
Hmm.
and then LUTs, which are basically the video versions of that you can sell. I sell both of those too, and those are passive streams of income.
Yeah.
For
There's a
sure.
lot of ways that you can make money through a hobby.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, I am so proud of you, Chewy, just hearing all of that, that it just like warms my heart because obviously I've seen you grow up and look at you now, just like so awesome to see. So I'm clapping for you. Love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's incredible like watching just like how your brain works and it's like
Mm-hmm.
the how someone can be so creative and just make beautiful content, but also just be so smart and business
Yes.
savvy where you're like, I am doing all of the things where it's both like passive and active income. And the active part is something that you enjoy doing. So it's really cool that you found that like perfect balance for you to make it work.
Thank you. Thank you. It means a lot.
Well, I want to conclude this episode by thanking our very special guest, Soua Vang, for coming on. It was so much fun in this interview, and we can't wait to see what you do in your future when it comes to videography and photography. I've just loved seeing all your content, and I know that it's only going to get more and more refined, and you're going to like really push the envelope because you already are doing it. So, for our listeners, we'll have all of his links for his socials and his website in the show notes. So make sure to check him out and show some love and book some sessions with him because he is so worth it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Kind words.
Well,
Thanks
thanks
so
for
much for coming on,
listening.
Shua.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you to our listeners. Yeah, like Mim said, go check out Shua's social media, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Passive Aggressive Income was written, recorded, edited, and produced by co-hosts and creators Mims and Lexi. We truly want to thank our listeners, collaborators, friends, and family that continuously support us for all the love we receive. If you enjoy our show, please give us a glowing rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Also, follow us on Facebook and Instagram to see what we are up to. For any inquiries, please email passiveaggressiveincome2023@gmail.com. Episodes of Passive Aggressive Income are available wherever you listen to podcasts, so make sure to subscribe and like us on your favorite streaming platform.